Just want to make a quick video. There was a fire on MSC Seashore on my sailing, and I just got off, and I just wanted to set the record straight. I wanted to let you guys know what happened and how it felt on my end, and my personal opinion on how I thought MSC took care of it. So I just want to tell you as it happened. So on the first night of the sailing, we were at the 7:30 showing, so we got there about 7:20 for the first night theater show, and we were sitting there, and then it was like 7:25, 7:30, 7:40, like no updates, nothing. And the show was supposed to start at 7:30, right? So you would think that the show would start exactly at 7:30, but nothing happened. It's like 7:45, 7:50, and then we heard a code Foxtrot. I'm pretty sure it was like Foxtrot Tango that came over the intercom. It's like code Foxtrot Tango. I had no idea what it was. And then like when the show didn't start at like 7:50, me, my wife, and my two kids, we just got up and we were staying on deck 19 on Yacht Club. And the theater is on floor 7. So when we got out, the elevators weren't working. So we started taking the stairs, and we walked up all the way to like floor 15, I believe. And when we got to floor 15, there was somebody at the stairwell saying, "Hey, you have to go down. We're evacuating because there's a fire." I was like, what the heck? Like, they wouldn't let us go up. So from floor 7 to floor 15, we got all the way up there, and we were just all out of breath. We were really tired. And then so they wouldn't let us go up beyond that. So we went back down, and then we heard one of the butlers. He was like, "Hey, just go back down. They're doing the show again." So I was like, "Okay, great, cool. The show is on." So we went down, went back to the theater, and we were watching the show. We started watching the show, right? So it started like 25 minutes late, with no updates or anything. And during the middle of the show, like this was the funniest thing. So during the middle of the show, the announcements came on, so they just like paused. Like it was kind of awkward, all the performers, it just stayed there. And the announcement was like, "No, don't worry, everything's back to normal. There's no fire." But the funniest thing is, in the background, like I took a picture of it. In the background, there was like flames everywhere. That was a prop. It was like there was flames everywhere, as part of the show. But it was so funny because the whole theater laughed. I thought it was the funniest thing. And then like they closed the curtains because there's flames in the background. They were like, "No, there was no fire." And then it was something like they said there was a fire, but it was contained, or it's no more fire anymore. So MSC never lied about not being a fire. They've always said there was a fire, and there was a fire. It was an electrical fire that happened, and it was put out, and they made it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. So we went back out, and the elevator still weren't working the first night. Like, okay, fine. So we walked all the way up the steps, like to floor 19, and everything was fine from that night, right? I went to the casino at night all the way down to floor 7, and then I think it was around midnight I was done with the casino. And when I was going back to my room, I witnessed the crew. Like, there was 4 crew. Like, what the heck are they doing? Well, the elevators were still down that night at like midnight. And they were carrying like all the scooters up the steps. And okay, here's the thing. People that had mobility issues, I mean, they were trouble because they were stuck because they were on their scooters. None of the elevators worked, right? And so the crew was carrying the scooters up and down. And the people that were stuck, they were in chairs, and the crew, like 4 of them, were carrying people up and down. And now these guys, so okay, I don't know how to politically say this correctly, but like, they weren't skinny, all right? They were overweight, hence the scooters for some of them. And the crew, with a smile on their face, were going up and down the steps with the people and the scooters. Holy crap. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I can't complain. There's no way I can complain. So I walked up all the way to floor 19, the highest level that you can book, multiple times that day. And I got up. Next morning, I wake up. The elevators in Yacht Club still wasn't working. The elevators are still not working on the whole ship. So all these people in mobility scooters, they're stuck. All right. Fast forward to that evening. One thing I want to mention. So in yacht club, you have the breakfast at the pool deck. When I got to the pool deck in the yacht club, this is how I knew something was wrong. When I went to the breakfast buffet and got my food, like everything was ice cold. Like the sausage was ice cold, eggs were ice cold. I went to ask for an omelet and they're like, "Oh, no omelets today." I was like, "Okay." Well, but they were cooking one fried egg, right? Like just a fried egg station, but everything else was cold, like ice cold. Okay, and then now I'm checking our group Facebook sailings, and people are like, hey, they're complaining about the cold food. So it's just not yacht club; it's like everywhere. And then these turns out one person got food poisoning and things like that. That did cross my mind. I ate the food anyway. I feel fine, right? But so yeah, that's how I knew something was wrong. Fast forward to that evening, elevators are still not working in yacht club, and elevators are still not working like anywhere else on the ship. They closed the yacht club restaurant for lunch, like nothing available. For dinner, we were on our way to the yacht club restaurant, and then suddenly we get a phone call, and it's the concierge. They're like, "Hey, you have to make a reservation for dinner because the yacht club restaurant is closed." And so when we got there at 5:30, there was a huge line at concierge, and they were booking people like specialty restaurants at teppanyaki, butcher's cut, but we were all getting the butcher's cut menu. So we like to eat early. I have two kids. My kids sleep early, so we always eat at 5:30, which is why we were leaving the room around 5:20 to get to dinner. Well, when we got in front of the line after waiting 20 minutes, the earliest available dining was like they could give me was 8:30 at night. 8:30 at night, right? So I was like, no, that's not gonna work. My kids have to sleep before then. Oh, okay. So then she was like, okay, no, we can get you 7:30, which is still too late. It's okay, it's fine. Um, so what we ended up doing was going back to the room and then ordering pizza, except for no one picked up for room service. So we went back down to concierge and they ordered pizza for us, and we had pizza for dinner that second night. So um, and we heard, so that was kind of a debacle, right? And elevators were all still shut down. The next day was Ocean K, and we got there fine. Everything was fine. But in Yacht Club, remember, we were like all the way deck 18, 19, 16. There's no deck 17. So at Ocean K, when we got there, the Yacht Club, we were actually able to use the crew elevators, and we were able to go up and down because it's just so high. Because deck 4 is how you exit, but still on the main ship, no elevators working. I think what happened at Ocean K, the following day, it was still nothing working. I think they had like one thing of elevators working, but the reason why they couldn't run the elevators was because I guess the electrical fire was at a generator, and they were running backup generators, and elevators drew too much power. So, I think they had one emergency elevators only for the mobility, but other than that, for that day and at Ocean K, everyone was just walking the steps. Everyone's complaining, like everyone's pissed off. But Yacht Club used the crew elevators to go up and down, but it took forever. And I felt bad. The reason why I felt bad about that is because like the crew couldn't get on because we were on the crew elevator. So that was making delays even worse. So we had all that going on. The following day, the day 2 of Ocean K, what they did was they flew in experts. This is what I heard. They flew in experts, they fixed everything, and then everything from then on. So by end of day 3, everything was normal. Like all the elevators were working. The food was hot again. Everything was normal, except the Yacht Club elevators still never worked. But all the elevators everywhere else worked. The arcade stuff, that was down. So during this whole time, when I saw all the complaints in our Facebook group for the sailing, I did put it in there. I was like, hey, I think it'd be a great idea for MSC to offer some kind of future cruise credit, because this is my mentality on it, right? Because there's a lot of first-time MSC sailors. They're like, man, this is like the worst. I'm never sailing MSC again. I've never had this kind of situation. I mean, it was like shit show on the forum. Everyone was complaining. And I was just kind of calming down. Hey, like stuff happens, fire happened. I want everyone to stay calm. Look, it's at least we're safe. No one got stuck anywhere. So I put on there, I was like, hey, I think it'd be a good idea for MSC to give like future crews credit, because what that'll do is that'll make all the people that are upset and it's their first time, it'll make them come again and experience the true MSC, how it usually is. So at the end of the day, actually, I think second to last night, what MSC did is they offered 20% future cruise credit off of what we paid. So if let's say you pay like $5,000, I'll just use my example. I pay $10,000 additional to upgrade to a owner suite. So I'm thinking I should get $2,000 back to use towards a future cruise. And if you're in yacht club, you got $200 onboard credit. If you weren't in yacht club, you didn't get any kind of onboard credit. So I think that's something very smart that MSC did, because that first of all acknowledged that something happened, and even though I feel like they took care of it the right way, it acknowledged and it let us know that they were sorry that it happened, and it'll give opportunity for the people that weren't happy to use that credit to sail again in the future. Now, do I? So first of all, let me say this: like, do I feel like I got what I paid for with the stuff going on? And you have to think of it this way: did I get what I paid for? Right. So, I booked the most expensive room on the boat. And even if you didn't, did you get, oh, well, especially if you didn't, if you weren't in yacht club, I think you got really like the short end of the stick, because you had to go all the way down to Tribeca, and usually, deck 13, 14, you could have been staying on deck 5. You would have to go up and down the steps. But I know a lot of cruisers are really old and mobility issues. I mean, I think if you were in that situation, I don't think 20% is enough. If you're in yacht club, I think 20% is pretty good, because we weren't affected as much. But you have to ask, like, did we get what we paid for? I know, like the company, they can't control like what happens, like with the fire, or if something happens, or act of nature. But at the end of the day, the question is, did the consumer get what they paid for? And on this sailing, no, we didn't. We absolutely appreciate the crew. The total amount I tipped, close to $1,000. Actually, if I tipped over $1,000 if we consider casino tipping. I absolutely appreciated every single one of the crew and what they've done. There's no question about that. But from a company standpoint, as a consumer and as a business owner myself, did I get what I paid for? And I'm going to say no, because it just affected so many other things. Like the dining was a shit show. And this is like my 9th MSC sailing. I've done yacht club a handful of times, even on the same ship. I was so pissed off on the dining. It just took forever, and the food was cold. It wasn't good. Once again, like, considering it was a fire, I think MSC did a great job. I just don't think we got what we paid for. That's all I'm gonna say. And I think that's great that they gave us 20%. So yeah, but I know some people are still pissed off. I know it's unfortunate. I'm going to sail MSC again. But with the show, that I think communication could have been better. Just wasn't 100%. And you can tell there's so many people that were complaining that it affected the people that were not complaining. Like, we didn't get good service because they were trying to put out fires for all the people that were complaining. So honestly, yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents, but that's what happened. I joined this Facebook group that's sailing now, so the week after, and right now there's no complaints. I don't hear any complaints about any cold food. The elevators I'm working, so they took care of it. So if you were on the December 8th through December 15th, but it's my birthday, by the way. So I got off my birthday. This sailing, you kind of got the short end of the stick. And during that cruise, during our sailing, it was Friday the 13th. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that cleared some light and shed some light for a lot of people that were curious. And once again, I know I rambled on. I'm just here to just not really vent, but actually just kind of clear up what happened. And this is point of view anyway. Just from staying in the owner suite, I try not to have any big expectations whenever I take, go on vacations, because the higher the expectation, then like typically if your expectations are high, you're not gonna have a good time. If you come in with zero expectations, which I usually do, but it's hard to not have some kind of expectations when you're, sailing, the owner suite. It's like what, $15,000 a week. And it cost me $17,000 because of my casino losses. But I lost another $7,000 on the sailing. So I don't know, what is that? Like $25,000 plus, yeah, $25,000 room if I count my casino losses. So it's hard not to have any reservations or expectations. And, I honestly think could have been better. And honestly, I think it would have been better just the fire. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think below. Like, did MSC do the right thing? Or if you were on the sailing, are you going to give them another shot? And I absolutely hope you guys do.